This is the game annually that gets the most talk in the ACC Coastal in the offseason. Doesn't necessarily turn out to be the game of the year, but it gets the most talk. The two teams with the most talent on the rosters meeting this year in Hard Rock. Miami Hurricanes live right here at the Voice of College Football. Get on in here. Leave your comments and questions for Mr. Cam Underwood, State of the U, who makes this thing go every Wednesday at 7. Cam, how you doing?
Good. Ready to get back onto the field for the Miami Hurricanes and find a way to win. So, it was a long week a couple weeks ago. That game, even from the first snap, offensively, went pretty poorly for Miami. And I had a sinking feeling then, and I said it after the game last week, even when I was tweeting during the game, I was like, oh boy, we're going to do that starting now. And then obviously having a bye week after that, there's not really much to talk about. So, yeah, good times.
There are records kept out there in terms of what coaches produce coming off a bye. Now, the reason I don't like those kind of stats is I want to know, okay, who have they played? Are they playing teams way above their heads coming off a bye or, below their status? I need a little bit more context in that, but still. It's a legitimate stat to at least start there. It gives an indication as to this staff has their act together. They are correcting things. They're taking advantage of the rest for the players, the refocus, the reset. And Manny Diaz, from what I remember, not much coming off the bye week. So
that was pretty bad, yeah.
As we head toward North Carolina, all the ugliness of the last two games, this team is 0-0 in the ACC. It all started in the Coastal Division this week against, again, who is supposed to be the other best team if the teams meet their talent level. Yeah. So did you get any kind of feel from news conferences, from player interviews, anything in addition to the coach speak that this team made some changes, got right, got their heads straight, any of that?
I mean, first of all, Manny Diaz coming off of a bye week was 1-5. And every time losing afterwards, he was saying, well, we have to completely revamp the process. And if you go back and watch those videos, it's if you're redoing everything from scratch every single time, you have no idea what's going on. You have to have some kind of baseline foundation. Eventually, he got one, I believe, victory after a bye week. But yeah, it was pretty poor, the performance there. I think Mario Cristobal was very good coming off bye weeks when he was at Oregon, at least. So that could be a positive, that he's led an organization that has done well after having extra time to prepare. But we're going to pretend that I'm from Missouri this week, and they're going to have to show me, because I don't believe anything that they're saying. And it's not that I think that they're lying. It's that I don't care about what you're saying. You have to go on the field on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever game you play or day you play. You have to go on the field and do it against somebody wearing a different jersey color from a different school, right? So you can talk about, oh, well, yeah, there's receivers stepping up in practice. And, yeah, we didn't focus for Middle Tennessee. And we, weeded out all of that. And then it was just some culture stuff. And there's some guys who still are doing things lazily. And that all sounds well and good. You close practices the whole entire bye week, fine. Hey, cool, whatever. Don't even have media viewing periods this week. Just have the interviews afterwards, right? So nobody's seen proof of this other than the people in the organization at all. So no, there's nothing I've been around this too long, man. You know what I mean? The coaches are going to say what they're going to say. And I mean, it just, at every available opportunity, it's very palpable. Mario Cristobal's disdain for discussing anything with the media. Maybe he's taken that from, when he worked with Saban. But his outright disdain for all of it is, it's surface level. He wears that on his face. You can see it when people ask him questions. You can hear it in his voice. Even asked a reasonable question about changing quarterbacks, right? Because the last time you played, you changed quarterbacks for ineffective play, right? So it's a reasonable question asked on the radio on Monday. Coach, just want to put this out there. Look, the last time we played, or you guys played, is there any thought to that? Or blah, blah, blah. Well, we're not going to create narratives. It's not a narrative, Mario. You literally benched your starting quarterback because he was not playing well. So having someone ask you about that is not something where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to talk down at you, which is what he does, right? Look, and you can go watch the videos and everything. I'm not talking out of turn. Like, you can see it, you can hear it yourselves, okay? But he's a professional coach. He does the responsibility of meeting with the media. He does the responsibility of talking and all those things. And he also is a professional coach in this point where he's going to say the things that professional coaches will say. But we're working on this, and it's a process, and we're building this, and we're da-da-da-da-da-da. Until I see it on Saturday, I don't believe it. Because at the end of the day, there has to be the work product, and the work product is the play on the field and the result. So, no, there isn't anything past that. There are injured players who are going to play. That would be Jalen Knight, Henry Parrish, Tyreek Stevenson, Daryl Porter. Those 4 were named specifically today by Mario Cristobal. Cool, great. So now if you play those guys in the ways that you use them and the amount that you use them, maybe that could be something towards like what we're talking about actually making a tangible change on the field. Zion Nelson had a setback with his knee that was stated. He's a game time decision. If it's me, he doesn't play. Because if you already had a setback and he did not play against Middle Tennessee, I would err on the side of caution for the safety of the player. But if it will, if it's just a thing where it's like, hey man, it's going to hurt a little bit, but it won't be injurious to you structurally or anything like that to go out there. Hey, okay, fine. But yeah. So no, everybody said what they're supposed to say. Cam Kinchins today, there was no problem with the scheme. There was no problem with the play calls. People just got to make plays. Okay. I mean, there was some of that, like we're talking about on that 89-yard touchdown, where, you had Corey Flagg jump outside and then he goes to the middle and then he takes a guy out and then Cam Kinchins actually gets blocked in the back on the play. That wasn't called. James Williams comes inside instead of saying too high on his half. He comes to the middle of the field and okay, there are some things, right? But you kept calling man-to-man, and they kept getting taken up top. Like, I get that you do better, be better, right? People can only do what they can, right? I'm not singing Mariah Carey notes. Do better, be better. Hit those notes, Cam. Don't got it in my voice, especially coming off of a voice injury. I can't do it. So don't keep giving me this piece of music and saying, hey, sing this, sing this, sing this. Don't keep putting players in positions to do things they are unable to do. And until we see that has changed or that we're being malleable with scheme to the point where we're fitting it to the players and we're doing what we need to do, all the other stuff is what we're doing right now, talking about it. They need to go on the field and be about it.
If I'm reading you correctly on Mario Cristobal, you weren't like throwing parties, jumping off the ceiling, going crazy when he was hired, but you were optimistic. You weren't neutral. You were on the high side.
I was on the positive side, for sure.
Side of yes, neutral by far. Yes.
Yeah.
And then his work in the offseason was credible, the recruiting prowess, getting out there. And so I would think that those positive vibes continued and increased. And then the first 2 games of the season happened, which were, they were what they were. They're playing teams that they should throttle. There was good, there was bad. Let's go play somebody that we can really find out who we are. And obviously, for 2 weeks, we thought that was just going to be Texas A&M through 4 games, but it's turned out to be Texas A&M and Middle Tennessee. So that goodwill has obviously decreased considerably.
Well, I mean, it's just, again, and like I said in last week's show, we didn't pay you all this money to come in and give us a result that we could have had and have had from Manny Diaz and Al Golden and an end of career Mark Richt, right? Who was just coasting. Randy Shannon, that was not what you were brought here to do. And getting that and then being contentious when asked about it. Yeah, no, like at some point, I'm not saying that you have to be humble and genuflect. Oh, well, great, oh, wonderful blogger who was asked this question. Thank you. Like, I don't, but even though I'm not a professional football coach, right, I can see that the performances were not indicative of what we need. And so we have to do something different. And then you back up a A&M loss with one of the worst losses in program history. And every single player, even after we were just, we figured we got a U on our chest and, we wear orange and green and we were going to win and blah, 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 blah. One of the things that I will give Manny Diaz credit for is his team's never quit. They might have lost. They never quit, right? They found ways to win. And I mean, it's, repetitive fodder for us now, but when he's talking about App State, he says, this is what they do to people. You see, this is what they've done to people. They grind it out. They grinded out that win at Texas A&M. It was a different kind of grind out. They were up 21-7. I watched the condensed game of North Carolina at App State. They were up 21-7 in that game and then ended up losing. So it was that they were grinding it in a different way, but that is what they do to people. And again, I get his meaning, but it was also funny the kind of way he said it. But that team didn't quit and they found a way to win, right? I don't know that I see that, and yeah, it is a little bit concerning if we're still getting that. And I know that people are going to say that, Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe his first year at Alabama. And I've already said, if you're not going to update the scheme because he's already done it and gone to spread offense because they're chucking the ball all over the field, if you're not going to recruit at a top 3 level every single damn year, right? And, you're not going to have all of these things put together, then don't talk to me about losing that game as being the impetus moving forward. So you lose those games, especially the Middle Tennessee State game. Yeah, I'm me, myself personally, I was always going to be critical, but I'm being very, we're cutting the fluff away and we're getting right to the meat of things for me.
So the question's brought up here by Lee and a number of people in the chat. We appreciate everybody being here. Please hit the like button and do all those good things. You can share the video. Just grab the link up there and you can share it out there on social media. So think of it this way. There are people that have no idea. Can you believe it or not? There are people that have no idea that we're here talking college football, talking Miami football each and every Wednesday night, but they know you. They follow you on Twitter or Facebook or wherever you interact. So please share the videos out there and bring some more people in here. But people are talking about it in the chat. It's obviously the number one topic of conversation is the quarterback decision.
Excuse me. I feel fine with it, honestly. I'm, if you're going to ride with your guy, right? If you're saying, and it's been clearly stated over these last 2 weeks, Tyler Van Dyke is the guy, singular. I'm fine with playing him. I need some of the play calling, but a lot of the executing to be better on all sides. That's Tyler. That's Frank Ponce, the quarterback coach. That's Josh Gass, the offensive coordinator, offensive line, tight ends, receivers, running backs. I need all of it to be better. And you can look at a lot of different plays through these games where one thing being wrong screws the pooch, right? One player, instead of one player, whatever, right, not doing his job will ruin everything. And that could be Tyler. We've seen he's missed throws, right? We've seen dropped balls. We've seen missed blocks. We've seen false starts, right? We've seen people not where they need to be. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, where's Tyler throwing the ball? Well, if he called the play and the guy is supposed to be there and he ran a wrong route, right? All of that has to go together. It's 11 people coming together, right? And, the goal has to be perfection. And I'm a trained musician. I was a music teacher for 15 years, whatever. And I love this analogy, but there's a video. I still have to find it. If you find it, email me or add me on Twitter. It was what a 90% sounds like in music. If a group missed 1 out of 10 things, notes, articulations, rest, timing, octave, whatever, volume, right? Just 1 out of every 10 on the piece of music. It sounded like third grade orchestra, right? And these professional players, just 1 out of 10 things being wrong, a 90%. You think, oh, that's an A, bro. I'm passing, giving my full 4 credits in my class in college. Like, boom, okay. 90% is not good enough in that, because for the thing to work the way it needs to be perfection, or as close to perfection as possible. So then this professional orchestra played it, having marked in each person's score 1 out of 10 things being wrong. Then they went and they played it 100% correctly, and you say, oh my God, this is, Beethoven's Ninth, or whatever, this, symphony, or this piece of music that is so very familiar. That's the same thing on a football field. You got all 11 people. They have to do their job collectively to perfection, right? It cannot just be, well, kind of, sort of, or da-da-da. That right tackle misses a block, your play's done, right? That snap goes over the quarterback's head, right? That running back trips, the crosser runs into the umpire so he doesn't hit whatever it is, right? So whatever it is will inhibit the play working. And I've seen it in a million places. If you're still, watching Steve-O, if you're watching Roman, if you're on our website and watching the stuff or reading the stuff that Justin does, or anywhere else, there's so many plays where it's been one thing off has killed that play, right? Is Tyler at fault in some points? Absolutely. But am I okay with the whole corporate mindset of the organization of Miami football being, Tyler Van Dyke is our quarterback, we're going to work together to figure it out? And by we, that means everybody in the building. That's clearly the mentality. I'm fine with it. However, if the performance does not change this game or next, then we're going to have a different conversation.
And based on some results this season, you would think this is the game for the offense to get it straight, because North Carolina, deplorable in a number of efforts against App State's the classic. We even talked about it, even though they were completely off the radar, and we don't talk North Carolina football here. That game was that 1 quarter of play in the fourth quarter was so egregious. We even talked about it here, giving up 46 touchdowns in a quarter.
And look, it wasn't just the fourth quarter. Like I said, App State was up 21-7 in that ball game. Like, go back and look. Like, they came out early and were hitting haymakers, bro. Like, they were swinging for the fences. Some no doubters, bro. Like, they went up the field. So, hopefully there are some things that, can be exploited there. Now, don't get it twisted. As Mark said in his lead-in, North Carolina is very talented. Miles Murphy, 5-star. Like, Clemson was a finalist with North Carolina for 5-star defensive end. He stayed home and he goes to North Carolina, right? Storm Duck transfers over there. They got the kid who wears 0, Conley, who's a monster and personally dominated at least 2 previous Miami games against the Hurricanes on defense only. You got the Grimes, the 5-star kid who was a 17-year-old supposed to be in high school. He reclassifies, comes in early, starts as a true freshman at 17 years old a couple years ago, right? They got plenty of talent. So their defense is the inverse of Miami's offense, where there's talent everywhere, but the production has been deplorable. But even with that being said, they're still 4-1 because they're scoring 1 million points a game. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I got to think, like this past weekend, they take on a Virginia Tech team. They shut them down to 10 points, nothing in the second half. The stats even show that they didn't give up anything. They looked like a capable defense on the stat sheet. I saw maybe 2 plays of the game, so I can't comment there. But I think what's that?
So they were playing one of the worst teams in captivity, but still.
Exactly.
But
especially on the offensive side. Right. They're bad.
Yeah, they're real bad.
And, Notre Dame has struggled on the offensive side this entire season. And they, boom, 45. So this is the week for Miami to get it right against this defense. And they're going to need to get it right from that standpoint, but also just to keep up, you would think, with the North Carolina offense, which is the inverse, is a pretty stout unit, one of the best in the nation.
Yeah, and so I was looking at that, and the thing that, first of all, their quarterback is really good. And so if you thought, okay, Sam Hartman is gone, it's not Sam Hartman, Sam Howell is gone, and they're going to really fall off at quarterback. That is not true. Drake May is his name. Luke May, the basketball player, and I forget his dad's name, but dad played football at Carolina as well. He was quarterback. And everything, but you got 6'4", 220, strong arm, can move. And everything. But yeah, so I'm just going to run down some numbers really quickly. Number of plays that were 10 yards or more. North Carolina, 94 in 5 games. How about 20 yards or more? 36 in 5 games. That would be 7th and 3rd nationally. How about 30-yard plays, Cam? That'd be tied for 6th nationally with 16. How about 40-yard plays, Cam? That'd be tied for 5th at 10. How about 50-yard plays? Are they doing those? They sure are, dear listener. They are having, excuse me, it's a little bit further down. Oh, there goes. 5 of those tied for 7th. How about 60-yard plays? Oh my goodness, they're way down there, tied for 11th with only 3. How about 70-yard plays? They got a pair of those, which is tied for 6th. How about 80-yard plays? They're tied for 3rd with 1, and there's only 3 teams that have had a 90-yard offensive play, and that would include a group with Middle Tennessee State because we gave up a 98-yard touchdown last week. So I say that to say that if you were thinking that maybe this offense or this defense that is struggling with giving up explosive plays to the opposition is going to face a team that plays dink and dunk, and they're just going to try to run the ball, and they're going to do ball control, and they're going right for that sore spot. I mean, it is, yeah, no, you're limping around a little bit or whatever, you get hit in an early round. And so you drop that guard and you're trying to, guard that kidney and everything. And they're just going to throw body shots right at that spot. Nope, we're going to hit that. We're going to hammer that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you go back and like I said, I watched the full game of North Carolina and a condensed cut of a couple of their other games. They're going to scheme stuff vertical. And especially in the RPO game, which is like a very stark difference from the RPO game that like Miami ran for years, whether it was Al Golden's RPO game with his offensive staff, whether that is the Rhett Lashley, because you're going to have a run play with like a slant tag, right? Maybe, eventually like a double move or something. They're going to have a run play with a vertical tag, with a seam tag on that. You know what I mean? Like they're not just, okay, we're going to do this and then we're going to throw a slant. No, we're going to look at the RPO. We're going to look at the run, but then we're going to try to hit you on a square and we're going to hit you on a seam route, like going vertically. So even in that, just that little difference really stood out to me. Now they do throw, the bubble screens and the now screens and things like that are extensions of the run game. But, a lot of stuff they do, they're going to go intermediate or vertical. And it's a lot of what they did, with Sam Howell. Look, he was really good and he put up all those numbers because they scheme up one-on-ones. They're going to throw vertical like it's a recruiting camp, and they're going to go make plays. Go look at all of those. Even when Miami played him when he was a freshman, look at the game winner that year and everything. We got a dude somewhere. We're going to scheme him up one-on-one. We're going to send him vertical, and we're going to believe that our quarterback is going to have the time, and he's going to put the ball there. And they do, and those receivers win. And, speaking of winning, they've beaten us 3 times in a row. So the proof's in the pudding that it does work for them. So yeah, Miami's up against it this week. This is a tall task, and I know that Miami can win. I'm not saying this is an immovable force or an inconquerable object or something, but yeah, going up against that offense, stopping that offense while also getting our offense to come alive, to take advantage of their defense, that's asking a lot from a team that has done neither so far this year. But
yeah, exactly, because what the issues are with their team, I look at it this way. We just saw it play out against Virginia Tech. North Carolina can be taken advantage of defensively, obviously. But if you're not executing offensively, you and I could be out there, and if guys are missing throws, if they're missing blocks, if they're dropping the ball, then you take a bad North Carolina defense and they can get some stops because there was a false start, and then there was a dropped pass. And, we really didn't do anything to get off the field that time. And so we've seen that against a couple bad opponents that they've been able to, and maybe they're getting better. Maybe they're finally finding themselves to a certain extent defensively, but I think it's more so the opponent.
And again, they're very talented.
Yes.
So like it has not been going well for them performance wise and schematic wise or whatever. But like again, inverse of Miami, or the same as Miami is defense for offense. There's plenty of talent on that roster. You're not saying, okay, this is not a case where you're like, okay, they are playing multiple guys who should not have scholarships or should not be playing at this level, maybe an FCS, maybe a Division II level. And I can go back, wrote about it, talked about it. There's plenty of dudes who played plenty of snaps for previous Miami teams. It's like, this guy is not a Miami caliber guy. For Miami to play to the caliber or quality of team that we aspire to be and have been and want to get back to, these guys don't have scholarships. These guys might be a preferred walk-on, but they're playing starter level snaps, 600-700 snaps a year, right? That's not the case on either of these teams. There's plenty of talent. So the defensive coordinator, do they have Chiswick?
Yes.
Yeah. So he has to get it together over there. And then obviously the entire organization, because offense and defense have been lacking, or not hitting the standard. But yeah.
Super chat coming in from Scott. Thank you so much for being here, Scott. Love the content. Go Canes. Glad to be able to watch live, even in the dark. Pray for us over here in Southwest Florida. God bless Mark and Cam. Scott, hang in there. And whomever else is with you there, friends and family, we hope the best for you and that you get the power working as soon as possible. Yes, the prayers go up for you and all the folks impacted throughout Florida and the Southeast this week.
Absolutely. And the main thing is you're healthy and safe. So, everybody goes through things, and whatnot. Hurricane Wilma, I think we didn't have power for 15 days and everything, and had to have the roof redone on the house. But you know what? We're all healthy and safe, and that's the best thing. So we appreciate you, being part of your day and everything to make it a little bit brighter. But yeah, man, we got prayers for you and everything. So hopefully it works out.
Big picture question here. Michael Davis says, do we still consider Miami a traditional top 20 program going off the last 20 years, AKA my years of watching football? Boy.
In terms of brand, yes. In terms of performance, no. So everybody still knows Miami. Now, it's not like, okay, Miami won a championship yesterday. Miami, right? But Miami is among the upper echelon of program, name brand, okay? In terms of that, in terms of being known and things of that nature. Because, Marshall Thomas, who used to ride with us, he's from Utah, right? And is a Miami Hurricanes fan. Now, his father was from down here in, Hollywood, and he grew up whatever. But, even Marshall, and I've seen the same things, if I go traveling places, and I wear some Miami stuff, like when I went to Portland or went to Oregon for vacation this summer, I was wearing a Miami Hurricanes jacket and went to Powell's bookstore. And I'm in the bookstore, just walking around with, not saying anything to anybody. It's like, yeah, cool. Like, that was my little bomber jacket. Hey, man, go Canes. And I'm like, yeah, bro, go Canes. It's that kind of a thing. Like, I've seen people be like, oh, yeah, I was traveling for work and I was wearing my pullover on the plane. I'm going to Heathrow. I'm going to Singapore. I'm going to wherever of these places around the world. And people are like, oh, yeah, Miami. Miami is known, right? So on a brand perspective, absolutely a top 20. Right. Absolutely, unquestionably. In terms of winning, the answer is no. Because Miami's won the division once, shared the division one other time, and then self-penalized from going to the ACC championship or a bowl game that year. Have won one bowl game in the last 16 years. Things like that. Have had one 10-win season, I believe, the 2017 season. So in terms of winning over the last 20 years, no, I wouldn't put Miami in that top 20 group. So, but Miami's still a name brand, university, athletic department, football program. So I separate them that way. I don't know if that answers your question or makes sense to you, Michael, but like people around the world still know the University of Miami, still know Canes football, but for what was done previously, not for the success on the field now. If that makes sense.
I can't really argue with any of that. I'm right on board with all of that. I'll put this spin on it. That let's not go back to black and white film. Let's stay in the last 40 to 50 years. Absolutely. Miami's not even, on the fringe of being in the top 20. They're clearly in the top 20, and I'm just talking football. I'm just talking performance on the field. Okay, if we bring it forward to what we're looking at right now, I posted a video that many of you very graciously received with salt in the wound, as of sorts, with a bitter taste of medicine, I should say, maybe 2 years ago, where I went through winning percentages and I went through how many programs have been ranked in the top 10 at the conclusion of the season. And I took this back to when Miami started to slip, like 04, 05 range. And, 57% winning percentage was putting them right in the category of Georgia Tech and Kansas State and those kind of schools. It was like 46th in the country or something like that. And I was breaking it all down, and that's what it was. So that's what the cold, hard facts are. Now, again, there's a lot of context to put there in terms of history, impact on the game, brand recognition, popularity, TV view, all that stuff completely changes that if you're putting it all together. Plus, on top of it, for this current version of Miami football, nothing's been produced on the field to show us a top 20 team. However, is the roster a top 20 roster? Yes. Is the head coach a top 20 coach by body of work? Yes. And the coaching staff he put together, clearly one of the best in the country. Yes, they should be producing that result soon.
Yeah, I mean, should be. And that's, again, the goal, which is where my level of consternation comes from, because there's not a top 20 program that loses to Middle Tennessee. Period. Point blank. Like it's just, you can go to that single data point, and it's like when I was going to all these recruiting camps years ago, and I was standing with a couple of guys. I mean, it was like, people who were, in the industry, right? So it's this is before Gabby was even with the side, like, Andrew Ivins and Dieter Kurtenbach, who now is out in the Bay Area and whatnot, and Chrissy Cabrera before she even started, transition to the UMB or transition to the University of Miami, David Ferones, like all the other guys, SSV, or, people around. And, we're watching warmups, and Pat Surtain Jr., 7th grader, warming up with the or 8th grader at the time, warming up with the varsity players. And, they do the back pedal, flip your hips, run to the sideline, catch the ball drill. Everybody knows this drill, right? And he just did it so smooth. And there was another guy next to him who was, built the way that Surtain, because he wasn't always, he was thin and maybe like 6'1", but he's 8th grader, right? And there was another kid who was a junior rising senior, and he had offers from pretty much everybody. And he couldn't make that play, that one play in the warm-up period. And I just remember multiple people there with me. They're like, it's not a D1 player. You're like, whoa, wait. Sub 4.6, because most people don't run 4.4. So he's sub 4.6, maybe 4.5-ish in the 40s, 6'1", probably 210, playing safety. If you can't do that and not think about it, you're not a D1 player. We don't got to see anything, and the other parts will then just fill in the rest of that story. You're not a top 20 program in the similar way. If you don't beat Middle Tennessee, who then lost at home to Texas San Antonio, the Fighting Roadrunners, the Larry Cokers, because he started that program, right? The next week, they got blown out by James Madison 44-7. That's a team stepping up from FCS who's not eligible for a bowl game, because the first year that you transition to a different level, you're not eligible for the postseason. But they're undefeated and everything, right? So Miami is not the caliber of program on the field as James Madison, as Texas San Antonio, UTSA. Not by
It would be
performance right now.
it would be so fun to be able to, if this was a different sport and you could play a zillion games and not beat
Yeah.
people up, or you could change the schedule and say, man, Middle Tennessee just lost to Texas San Antonio. Texas San Antonio, Hard Rock next week. I
Let's
just
go.
want to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, they spread it out. They got a nice quarterback. He's a lefty too. They go tempo, they go vertical, and things like that. So, hey.
I can't quite make something out of this question, but maybe you can, because it might be interesting. Marcus is asking, Cam, are you shocked that a lot of South Florida players, unlike in years past, are looking at this team like they need me and I can change the program?
I mean, yeah, because there have been precious few of those. If you're talking about Duke Johnson, who was always coming to the University of Miami, like hell or high water, fire, brimstone, whatever, I'm going to Miami. Period. Apart from that, I mean, I was going to say DJ Dallas, but he's from South Georgia, so that goes against the face of what you're asking. But yeah, so basically after we lost to Middle Tennessee, Ray Joseph, is leading a lot of the guys and being like, yo, we're going to, because they get asked, like, yo, are you still in? Like, and he was like, yeah. So, and then Ray said this to, I forget who was interviewing him, so I cannot give the proper accreditation or attribution, but being interviewed after a game recently, and it was like, yeah, so who started that? And he was like, I did, like, I'm here for the team. I'm here for this city. Like, clearly I was committed somewhere else and now I'm coming to Miami. And, Louisville been texting me. I leave them on red, not even interacting with them. Clemson, where Ray Joseph was previously committed, reaching out, being like, hey, so, we're doing really well over here in Clemson, South Carolina. Team that you want to go play for, not so much. So we're just circling back to see maybe we can make something shake, because we would love to have you come over here and not go over there. And they're not doing great. And he's just like, no, I'm locked in. Boom. And there's a lot of guys in this class, at least, who have committed already. That group seems to be on that same mentality, right? And that is different because, and maybe this is the coaches, maybe this is the crystal ball effect in recruiting. Maybe this is just the first year bump that you usually see when you get a new coach in the world of recruiting. But now it's not everybody, right? So it's not pervasive across the entirety of the recruiting base. But those who are bought in seem to be fully bought in for the university, for the program's sake, and despite the result. And if the result is negative, then they're looking like, hey, well, I'm going to come in and change it. Cool. And that's different. That's not something we've seen. Again, those guys who have really just been like, I'm coming to Miami, period. Recently, it's not been many. Like, again, apart from Duke Johnson, man, I'm really struggling to find one. I mean, we've won recruiting battles for some dudes, Amon Richard, Leonard Taylor, Brashard Smith, Cam Kinchins maybe is one of those dudes who's okay, I was going to Miami, period. But yeah, the instances of those are few and far between. So to hear that from multiple guys, and we led by Ray Joseph because he was the one who was most recently interviewed. The video just came out. I think it was Marcus Benjamin, who's now at Rivals, who was interviewing him post game. So the interview came out, and then there's that, and then he's the one being the face of that, really kind of puts that forward. But yeah, that was not something I was expecting. I'm pleasantly surprised by it. Hopefully we can continue to have that be the seed that grows into a proliferation of players that, doing or thinking similarly and then coming on down, because this roster, while it is talented and everything, still does need to be turned over and made into the kind of roster that Cristobal wants as well as needs.
Third Degree 7. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the contribution. Cam, how much confidence do you have in this team? I just don't see where we go from here.
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know how to qualify my confidence. I'm more skeptical than I am confident because I need to see it. So I'm confident that there are the players here to accomplish greatness. I'm confident that there are the coaches here with demonstrated histories that lead me to believe that they can coach up positions and teams, units and things like that so that they can be successful. But am I confident that they're going to be successful on a weekly basis or against a team that is as talented as North Carolina and who comes in, 4-1? With the offense that they've been showcasing and things like that, I'm not really sure. So I would love it if they gave a strong performance that would increase my level of confidence. But, I have a medium to low level of confidence coming into this week simply because of what we saw, not even against A&M, because A&M, that was like, there were tweaks. You know what I mean? It was like, I like to cook and everything, even though, I'm not Fat Boy Eats, Kappa Canes. Kappa Cane, be sure you go read that stuff on the website. Fat Boy Eats, does great stuff, takes great pictures of it, so it looks incredible. And I've had a lot of his food as well because we're personal friends. So, hey, it tastes really good. But, I do my little thing for myself and I watch a lot of those shows and everything. And it's like, when you get to the judging round of Top Chef or Chopped, and you're like, hey, man, if you would have just left off the crumble and maybe strained the parsnip puree a little bit and a little bit of salt to finish, so just for seasoning. Oh man! But everything else in the dish is there. It's just these little couple different tweaks that are really just taking it from like good to Michelin star. Oh my God! I gotta travel across the country to have that kind of thing. That's the kind of dish that we had, or the kind of performance that we had at Texas A&M. Minor tweaks would have made a major difference, but defense played strong. There's a lot of things there that could be the foundation, the building blocks for success. Going up against Middle Tennessee State, that's throw this thing in the trash. Like, I don't know who made this, but this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it. I don't know. And so for me, it's just like, well, that seems like not even one step forward, two steps back. That seems like one step forward and like a couple miles back, like a 5K going in the wrong direction. And for me, that's where my confidence is not where I would want it to be, just because the performance coming off of a tight game against a very, very talented top 10, 8 roster in the country team. The performance game against Middle Tennessee State was atrocious. So that for me is why my confidence is not high at the moment.
Chuck C. Appreciate you being here. Chuck C is headed to South Florida for the first of 2 game trips, Florida State being the other, from Utah. Deep dive here. Now, I have looked at this before you have had a chance to look at it, Cam, and I don't know where he's going with these stats because I'm not finding these stats. First and foremost, I'm like, North Carolina is not putting up these stats, so where are we? Deep dive, just 33% third downs, only 13 first downs per, and 85 yards per game rushing. That's got to be Miami. That's not North Carolina.
Absolutely not.
Control most plays and then bust. There's hope.
They could almost play some. Well, maybe it is
North Carolina offense.
I'm gonna look.
They're way above 13 first downs per game. They're way
above that. Yeah.
There's no way they're only converting 33% third downs.
No, they're 50%. There's 34 out of 68. It's right on the top. Yeah. My page didn't even scroll as that. Now, is this Miami? And Miami is 47.4 on third down. So I don't know. I don't know where you're getting just 33% third downs. I don't know where you're getting that. 13 first downs per game. I guarantee you that's not Miami because
Yeah,
I just guarantee you, even against Middle Tennessee State, we moved the ball. We had a ton of first downs. We had 20-something first downs. And I know we had 20 or 30, which means that we would have to have had single digits in the other games, which just simply is not what happened. And we dominated the game against Texas A&M. I think we had 20-something. So I don't. 85 yards rushing. I mean, you are going to take some away for sacks and everything. I don't even know if that's the Miami stat. But I would say go back to the drawing board with your statistics.
Yeah. North Carolina has 938 on the ground in 5 games. That's almost 200
That's
yards
almost 200
per game rushing.
Yeah, Miami's at 180. Yeah, I respectfully don't know. I don't know who those stats are. Reference. Is that our wait? Are those our defensive stats? Oh wait, hold on now.
Basically saying, yeah, Miami's defense.
Okay, those are our defensive stats. Okay,
they bust.
Okay, yes, got it. Those are our defensive stats. I was looking at it the wrong way. True. Okay, so allowing 33% on third downs is well. Let me just go make sure that this is actually correct now. Opponent.
What's your site right now that you're going to?
CFBstats.com.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I usually just go there. It's really easy. Yeah. Okay. So those are Miami's defensive stats. So holding opponents to 33% conversion on third down, only 13 first downs per game, and 85 yards rushing. Got it. They control and then they bust. Well, that's how you lose games, And to your point, Chuck Z, now that I'm on the page, I'm sorry, it took us a minute to get there. This is why that muffed punt against Texas A&M was so impactful, because they were doing less than nothing. So then you give them a 12 or 24-yard field or whatever. That is undoing all of this great work. And then, but on the other side, Middle Tennessee didn't have to run the ball because they just chucked it up top over and over. And honestly, they didn't even chuck it up top. They chucked it short and medium a couple times and just let, so it, you're doing some good things. You're stopping the run and everything. But even against App State, North Carolina, I need to go and look at that one. What did they run for? I can spell. Not Northwestern, North Carolina. I'm getting there. Rushing per game. Against App State, they ran for 215. So, yeah, that game was just we're going up and down the field. They ran for only 66 against Notre Dame and lost. Okay. That then puts real strain on Miami's linebackers and secondary, because if you were able to take away the run against North Carolina, then you're just saying Drake May beat us and he's very talented. And I'm not sure that Miami's going to be able to take away the run against North Carolina, because they're still running from 2019. That one game,
20.
They're still running. And that was a game where, like, yeah, we're going to take away, or we're going to work on the run, but, we're going to try to cover up the pass and everything, because, Sam Howell, not Hartman, Howell, is prolific in throwing the ball and blah, blah, blah. And then we're just like, cool, we're going to run counter over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And again, they're still running. So, it'll be interesting. But the secondary is really going to have to step up. And then they're going to have to play well on those big downs, those third and fourth downs, because they did not play well on third and fourth down against Middle Tennessee at all. Like, Middle Tennessee was 40% or just over 40% on third down, and 5 out of 8, 6 out of 8 or something like that on fourth down. Sorry, I saw a note that I left to myself on the back of my door. I forgot I put it there. So that was not really a great performance from Miami, but if they play to those numbers, great. But the other part is the fact of, even with those statistics that you put, which are correct and true for Miami's defense, still found ways to lose. And that's the issue.
Not a big believer in this term. I do think that there's elements and evidence to it in different games when John says that the Middle Tennessee State game was a fluke game. And so before I cut you loose, Cam, I'll say this. I'm much more a believer of flukes in, let's say, college basketball, because we see it every year in the NCAA tournament, during conference tournament play. The game is so short in college basketball. Those halves are 30 minutes and they're done like that. One kid's hot. There's a couple, one, especially back in the old days, obviously they could stall, but still at a 30-second clock, is it 30? 35
Yeah,
seconds?
it's 30.
30. There's ways to condense the game. And there's only 5 players on each side, and they're just the basketball, man, those games, they can be so quick, and before you know it, oh man, it's 24-18 at half. We didn't really get into this game yet, and we're down by 6. Okay. And you start losing some confidence and shots drop and the whole deal. Versus football, just a lot of players out there, a lot of plays, long game. There's a lot of time. Shoot, we see teams come back. There's 12 minutes left in the game. They're down by 20. And sure, that's not a great position to be in, but
App
teams
State
wipe that out. Yeah.
App State at North Carolina at App State. App State was down big. And they said, look, we're just going vertical. And got right back into it.
How long was that Southern Miss game near halftime? And it was still like slogging around at 10-3. I was like, this is getting interesting, but it's still nowhere near to the point of alarm. And boom, 30-7.
I mean, look at Georgia even. They were trailing into the fourth quarter this week. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but for me, the other thing towards basketball, I think having the propensity to be a little bit flukier than football are personal fouls. Because if your star player gets 2 fouls first 2.5 minutes, he's sitting until halftime, right? Just because the cost benefit analysis of playing him and potentially getting that 3rd foul. And hey, you come out and then what? We're going to run whatever we're going to run, right? And we're going to target him. Maybe he tries to reach. Maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's incidental. 3rd foul, 30 seconds into the second half. Sit down again. And we've seen that. So that's another thing that does not necessarily exist in football. Like, yeah, you can get multiple personal fouls or, things like that. But like, when was the last time you saw somebody get ejected for, unsportsmanlike conduct? You know what I mean? Like, or things like that. It just, I don't think so. To me, I think it might be, I agree with you that it's improbable that if Miami and Middle Tennessee played again at all, let alone multiple times, I am dubious to the fact that game would play out that way and the result would be the same again, right? Now, maybe if you do it 20, 25, 30 times, okay, maybe you get 1 or 2, but like if you ran another 9, so you play them 10 times, nah. I just don't see it, right? What I take from that game that gives me pause for this game is what they did can be done again by a team who is more talented and better on offense in that style of offense, such as North Carolina. That's where I think them doing it and it working that way was a perfect storm, a confluence of factors that make it fluky that they did that against Miami in this game this year. I could see Carolina or other teams who play that style of offense doing those same things and having success with it. So that for me is where, yeah, it was fluky that they did that in that game, but those things can still be exploited against the University of Miami Hurricanes this year, and that's what gives me pause. So I agree with you, kind of. It was fluky that Middle Tennessee hit all of their, home run shots and everything, and end up, yes, okay, cool. Then you got 3 turnovers in the first 7 snaps, including interceptions on the first 2 plays, including 1 is a pick 6. You get a fumble, you get 3 short. Okay, yes, I agree with you. There were a lot of fluky things for them to win, but the things that they demonstrably did, especially on offense against our defense, are repeatable. And for that reason, I have concern.
Good stuff here from Cam Underwood as he delivers each and every Wednesday. Good college football discussion, Miami-based, of course, first and foremost, every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Think about it. You grab a friend, 2, 3, get them in here. We could have 500 on here.
Yeah, make it your video Ponzi scheme, man. Hey, everybody bring one, and the next week everybody else bring one other. That's it, bro. Hey, just
Think about that, folks.
I mean, maybe that wasn't the greatest analogy, but yeah, just
that works.
Well, yeah, I mean, support group, a friends gathering. Just everybody bring a friend. Come on.
All right, good stuff. Cam, what you got going on there at State of the U?
Got a bunch of good stuff. Got our ACC rooting guide, and I saw a couple people tweeting about that last week. That goes up tomorrow. Got your film preview for this weekend. Got a couple other pieces that are already up. I have to get back to writing about recruiting because I've neglected that thing, which is a responsibility, but also a passion for me and everything. So, they're talking about Antoine Jackson, the top 2024 cornerback from Dillard, talking about him reclassifying up to this year. So, hey, that would be great because we need, a 6'1", 190-pound corner who's a 4-star caliber guy from a local powerhouse school. That would really be helpful to the roster. So, that among other things, but we got to get into that. We got plenty of other stuff up there for you on stateoftheu.com. Got a couple other super secret projects probably coming up soon that you'll see. So Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. The website is right there on the screen, stateoftheu.com. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. Come and fan with us in any and all of those places, and we will see you soon.
I'm actually going to say this one more time because seriously, folks, grab somebody, grab one or two. We say this almost every week. It's just kind of but I don't know that anyone does that, but we would appreciate it. And it would, this ultimately benefits you because we can keep this going for as long as possible. Cam, if you've got a minute, Devin is going nuts. He's typed this about 14 times, obviously copied and pasted it.
Well, whatever.
He really wants this answered. Why are our seniors and upperclassmen not performing at our top tier level?
There's like a TikTok with a guy who's telling somebody that they don't want to fight. I believe it's an older, middle-aged white guy. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. And with all due respect to those gentlemen, again, to whom I wish well, I have no ill will for. I just think that some of them aren't those guys. And we've seen that, unfortunately. Like DJ Ivy is, a football Adonis at cornerback. 6'1", 190, 200 pounds, long arms, gotten a lot more muscular. He was tall and lanky. But every time that you turn on the game, he's in the background of somebody else's highlight. You know what I mean? And I think that as you progress, you have to turn potential into performance, right? And for a lot of the upperclassmen, I think that they are who they are. And that leap, that bound, even those couple steps forward, I'm sorry to say, I just don't think it's in the cards for them, right? And I think that that's where changing this roster over, getting more talented guys, getting more productive guys, even if they're not super talented, right? And I know that people were pushing back when I was saying that Xavier Restrepo is the most productive wide receiver. He's not the most talented or best wide receiver. I would damn sure take a productive ass Xavier Restrepo on the field right now. You know what I mean? But if you can marry the talent and the production, if I get somebody who's more talented at that level of production, then I have a better player. What's the kid from, a more talented Xavier Restrepo by leaps and bounds? Josh Downs at Carolina, right? Same type of guy. Okay, Restrepo's maybe a little bit more muscular, but they play the slot. But Downs is more talented physically, athletically, and you see the production exponential, right? That's a direct comparison that you can take, right? And that's no shade to Xavier Restrepo, because you need productive guys. But after a while, you are who you are. And I think that while, they might have been the guy in high school, they took a minor step forward, and that's that. And maybe that's, maybe they have injuries behind the scenes. Maybe they were fighting with their girlfriend. Maybe, their grandma passed and the grandma raised them and whatever. Maybe they just really would be a better fit in a different system. Maybe, whatever. But I think that for a lot of the upperclassmen and seniors specifically that you're talking about, they are who they are, not who we once hoped they could eventually be. And realizing that is tough, and that's where, if I call a player out, like I've already mentioned a player on defense, I get to Corey Couch. I think that he's playing okay, but like I was on the North Carolina blog today, and I was reading, their stuff going into the game, and they have a lot more basketball content on there because, like, Carolina, duh. But even on their game preview, the front picture is, to Corey Couch getting run by Josh Downs last year. I was looking at my Phil Steele's magazine. There's the same picture of Josh Downs in the foreground, leaving to Corey Couch in the background on the North Carolina pages, right? So eventually you are who you are, right? Oh, well, he's going to eventually become Honey Badger. Is he though? This linebacker who's, he's going to be Ray Lewis. He's going to be, Nate Webster. He's going to be Dan Morgan. Is he though? Right? Because when you have a long time horizon, right, then the potential to improve is greater. I would definitely think that Wesley Besainth at linebacker has a higher potential for development than, even who was the 4-star in the year before that? Chase Smith, who was an athlete and moved around, right? Still a 4-star guy. I know y'all were thinking I was going to say Corey Flagg. No. I'm going to leave it at a peer level recruit, right? 4-star athletic. I would think, being a true freshman versus being a sophomore or redshirt sophomore even, that the room for growth, the potential is higher for Besainth because the time horizon is longer, right? It's just one of those things. And eventually, yeah, I mean, you do what you can and you want what you want, but some of those guys just aren't those guys. And I don't know if it's a disconnect, is that ineffable quality of just, greatness, in any kind of, and just, I mean, even development in any kind of area, it takes time. And, sometimes you get flashes. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Sometimes, hey, we're going to go pro in something other than sports, it's like playing French horn. Like, French horn is a developmental instrument. You can literally some days use your technique and play certain notes. And while you're developing, use your same technique the same way the next day, and you cannot play that note. Right? So it's like, hey, I'm working on this skill. I'm working on outside zone. I'm working on my down block. I'm working on whatever. And I can do it the one day, but I can't. And that's the nature of development. But sometimes it's I can and I can't. Or it's like, well, no, it all came together for me perfectly that one time. And that one time was the one time that I could do that. That's outside of my skill set. And I think that we're seeing that with a lot of guys. So yeah, it's really just the fact of I think that we have to come to terms with, especially older players on the roster, are who they are, not who we once thought they could eventually potentially be.
For you folks, 3 or 4 in the chat saying Josh Downs is garbage or trash. My goodness. Right. You're either just the ultimate Miami fan and you just want to troll to just, push buttons and, poke the bear. I get it. But if you're serious, man, 101 catches last year, 1,335 yards, 8 touchdowns. I hope you're not evaluated at your job, your employment to that degree.
And on the flip side, and I love this talking point, I'm stealing from Bud Elliott because when he was at SB Nation, we would always have these conversations. What's the trade for Josh Downs for Miami? So if you're getting Josh Downs, what are you willing to part with? For me, on this roster, a lot. And I mean, I might even throw in a unnamed blue chip recruit, to be named for the future. Like, I mean, for that guy on this team, there's a limit to what I would trade, but it would be what, 4 for 1 plus a recruit? Just off, I mean, three for 1. So us giving up 3 players off the roster for 1 Josh Downs, and we would give up a recruit to be named later. Like, if you're Carolina, do you take that? Depending on who the players are, and you know what I mean? Like, that's the imbalance there. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm fully on the 3 or 4 players and a recruit to be named later for what it would take to get Josh Downs, because, like, again, you're just elevating everything. And I mean, look, that would hopefully be when, Robbie Washington and Ray Joseph get on campus, they will be players along that line, but also they're both 5'9", so you need taller wide receivers. But I mean, yeah, Josh Downs, yeah, not trash at all. Would trade multiple guys off this roster for tonight.
Just gave me a great idea, which would be have a fan forum chat room where college football fans propose trades.
Yeah.
And the trade doesn't go through unless you got somebody to accept it. You're a Miami guy, you're looking for a trade, you talk to the NC State guy, and you talk to the Oklahoma guy, and you just figure out what's going to work for both of you, trying to upgrade your teams.
Years and years ago, I wanted to trade for Eddie Vanderdoes from UCLA, defensive tackle. And I think I gave up. It was 1 for 1 with a recruit, or 2 for 1, I want to say, like 2 off the roster for him. But like, yeah, like those, I mean, but yeah, just even as a thought exercise, you can see the value there, especially with the dearth of talent and production in Miami's receiver room. But again, everybody today in the media availabilities and everybody this week, the receivers are better. They're helping talent around. We're doing everything. We're not dropping passes. We're blocking really great. So we're creating room for the running backs. The running backs are healthy. And cool, fine, great. Show me on Saturday.
All right, folks. We appreciate you being here. And again, bring some folks with you next Wednesday, 7 Eastern, right here at the Voice of College Football Miami. Cam, you have a great weekend. Rest of your week first. And enjoy that ball game.
You guys do too. We'll see you soon.